The cream-colored envelope sat on the counter like a delicate secret waiting to be opened. I picked it up, running my fingers across the golden-embossed letters. Together with their families, Clarissa Daniels and... I paused, smiling faintly. Clarissa. My best friend since college. The wild one, the dreamer, the girl who swore she'd never marry but now stood ready to prove herself wrong. I unfolded the card slowly, savoring the moment. Clarissa deserved happiness. She had been through heartbreaks, betrayals, endless failed flings. If anyone deserved to stand at the altar, it was her. But then my eyes fell on the name beside hers. The Groom. I froze. The letters blurred for a moment, but I blinked hard, and there it was, Michael. My husband's name. I let out a soft, disbelieving laugh. Michael was a common enough name. Surely it couldn't be him. Yet, as I stared, something twisted deep inside me. The ink seemed heavier, the letters darker, like they wanted to mock me. No, it can't be. I set the card down, but my hands trembled. A strange heat spread through my chest. Was I overreacting? I wanted to believe it was another Michael, someone else entirely. But in the quiet of my kitchen, I couldn't shake the unease. The day of the wedding arrived faster than I expected. I chose a flowing navy dress and heels that clicked sharply against the polished marble floor of the Grand Hotel Hall. The room shimmered with crystal chandeliers, roses draped across white satin cloths, and an air of celebration that clashed violently with the storm inside me. Clarissa stood at the front, glowing in a lace gown that hugged her slender frame. My heart squeezed seeing her so radiant. Then the music swelled. The groom entered. I felt the ground vanish beneath me. It was him. Michael. My Michael. My husband. The man I had shared a bed with last night, who kissed me before leaving with a lie on his lips about a business trip. Gasps echoed in my mind, though the hall remained oblivious. He walked forward with that same confident stride, adjusting his cufflinks like he always did, his lips curving into the practiced smile I once thought belonged only to me. Our eyes met. And in that instant, his smile faltered. I gripped the edge of the pew until my knuckles whitened. My stomach twisted, my mind spinning with impossible questions. Was I dreaming? Hallucinating? Was this some cruel joke? Michael froze mid-step when he saw me, just for a second, but it was enough. Enough for me to know he recognized me, enough to confirm the horrible truth. He looked away quickly, pretending nothing had happened. He slipped into position beside Clarissa, taking her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Clarissa's eyes sparkled with love, her smile wide and unguarded. She didn't see the panic in his jawline, the way his throat bobbed when he swallowed hard. I was drowning. Memories hit me like bullets. His late-night work meetings. His sudden trips to conferences. The expensive gifts, the unexplained bank withdrawals, the times he returned smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't mine. I had brushed it all aside. Because love makes you blind. But now, in the middle of a wedding hall filled with laughter and music, my blindness burned away, leaving nothing but fury and devastation. The ceremony began. The priest spoke warmly about love, about devotion, about two souls uniting. Each word felt like poison poured over my skin. Michael stood tall, his hand clutching Clarissa's fingers, his face locked into a mask of charm. Yet every few moments, his eyes darted toward me, as if begging me not to open my mouth. Clarissa glanced at me once, and I forced a smile, but my heart was breaking. This was my best friend. The woman I had shared secrets with, cried with, laughed with. And she was marrying my husband, unknowingly. As the priest said, marriage is built on trust and truth. My chest tightened. The hypocrisy was unbearable. Then came the vows. Michael's lips formed the words I had once heard him speak to me. I promise to love you, honor you, and cherish you. Each syllable was a dagger. My fingers dug into my lap, nails leaving crescent moons in my skin. I wanted to scream, to stand and shout the truth. But my voice caught in my throat. Then the priest's words cut through the tension like a blade. If anyone here knows any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. And suddenly, every eye in the room turned toward me. My legs shook as I stood. Gasps rippled across the hall. Michael's hand dropped from Clarissa's instantly, his face pale. Clarissa frowned, confusion painting her features. "Sophie," she whispered, "what are you doing?" I opened my mouth, but for a moment, no words came. All I could see were memories. Michael holding me in his arms, whispering promises of forever, the ring he slipped on my finger, the life we had built together. The lies he had told. I remembered the first time I met him, at a bookstore downtown. His easy smile, the way he offered to buy me coffee, how quickly I fell for his charm. I remembered our wedding day, me in a simple satin gown, him in a dark suit. We had stood in front of the same kind of priest, speaking the same vows he was now reciting to another woman. And then, the years of slow distance. The unexplained absences. The excuses. It all fit now. I took a shaky breath, raising my hand toward him. "I can't let this wedding happen," I said, my voice breaking but loud enough for all to hear. The hall erupted. Guests murmured, heads craned. The priest blinked in shock. Clarissa's face drained of color. "What do you mean?" she demanded, her voice trembling. Michael stepped forward quickly, desperation in his eyes. "Please, Sophie, sit down. Let me explain later." But I shook my head, tears spilling down my cheeks. "Later? After you make her your second wife? After you destroy her life like you destroyed mine?" The hall went silent. And then, with trembling hands, I reached into my purse, pulling out the small envelope I had carried all morning, unsure if I'd ever need it. My marriage certificate. I held it high for everyone to see. "This man," I whispered, my voice hardening, "is already my husband." For a moment, no one moved. The hall was frozen in collective disbelief. Michael's eyes darted to mine, wild and desperate, as if he could hold me hostage with a single look. His lips formed a silent plea, "Don't." But it was too late. The priest cleared his throat, fumbling for order. "Priest, Madam, you must have a reason for this interruption." I raised the certificate higher, my voice steady though my knees trembled. "Me? I have every reason. This man is already married. To me." A ripple spread through the room like a shockwave. Michael's jaw clenched. His face twitched as he tried to muster the charm that had fooled us both. "Michael, Sophie, for God's sake." "Me? Don't you dare say my name like that." Clarissa turned to him, her face pale beneath her veil. "Clarissa, Michael, tell me this isn't true." Michael stepped forward, his hand half extended as if he could reach into the air and erase the words hanging there. "Michael, Clary, listen. I can explain." "Clarissa, explain? Explain how my groom is someone's husband." She looked at me, betrayal etched in her features. "Clarissa, and you, Sophie, how long? How long have you hidden this from me?" The sting of her accusation pierced deeper than Michael's lies. "Me? Clarissa, I didn't know. Not until I got the invitation. I thought it was impossible. But when I saw him standing there..." Her bouquet slipped from her trembling hands, scattering roses across the marble floor. Michael's mask cracked. His voice was sharp, desperate. "Michael, stop this. Both of you. Let's not ruin today." I cut him off with a bitter laugh. "Me, today was ruined the moment you decided to play husband in two households." The guests gasped again, their whispers swelling into a storm. Michael grabbed the crumpled certificate from me and shoved it into his pocket, but the damage was done. A guest shouted from the back. "Guest, show us the paper. Let's see the proof." Clarissa staggered forward, her gown rustling against the aisle. "Clarissa, Michael, is it true?" Silence. Then, finally, his shoulders slumped. "Michael, yes." The word echoed like a curse. Clarissa gasped, her hand clutching her chest. "Clarissa, my God, how could you?" "Michael, I was trapped. Sophie and I, our marriage was dying. I couldn't bring myself to divorce her. But you, Clarissa, you made me feel alive again." The audacity. The cruelty. My vision blurred with rage. "Me, dying? We were making plans last week. You kissed me goodbye yesterday morning." Clarissa's sob turned into a scream. The hall descended into chaos. Murmurs, shouts, phones raised to record every second. Clarissa's tears streaked down her cheeks as she turned on him. "Clarissa, you made me believe in love again. You looked me in the eyes and swore I was the only one. Michael, you are. I love you, Clarissa. I love you both." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Gasps filled the room. Someone hissed, "Monster." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Me, you love us both? We're not possessions you can juggle, Michael." Clarissa's fury flared. "Clarissa, no. You don't love either of us. You only love yourself." The priest lowered his book, shaking his head. "Priest, this ceremony cannot continue." Clarissa turned to me, her eyes blazing even through tears. "Clarissa, Sophie, did you truly not know?" I swallowed hard, nodding. "Me, not until today. I swear it on everything I hold dear. I would never have betrayed you willingly." She stared at me for a long, unbearable moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Clarissa, then we were both his victims." Her voice cracked, but there was fire underneath. She turned to the stunned crowd, pointing at Michael. "Clarissa, this man deceived us. He deceived everyone." The room erupted in outrage. Guests cursed him, phones flashed, whispers turned to condemnation. Michael raised his arms, trying to shout over the noise. "Michael, stop filming. This is private." But the tide had turned. Clarissa stepped toward me, her voice low, steady. "Clarissa, Sophie, he doesn't get to win. Not today. Not ever." For the first time, our pain aligned. We weren't rivals anymore. We were survivors. And together, we would make sure Michael's double life came crashing down around him. The wedding hall still buzzed like a shaken hive. Clarissa stood tall despite the tears on her cheeks, her hands clenched at her sides. Michael shrank under the weight of dozens of accusing stares. But then, movement. From the second row, his mother rose, regal in a pearl-trimmed dress, her eyes sharp. "Mrs. Carter, enough of this spectacle. Michael, come here." He moved like a chastised boy, clinging to her gaze like a lifeline. Clarissa's voice trembled as she snapped. "Clarissa, did you know? Did you know your son was married, still married, and yet let him stand here, ready to bind himself to me?" Mrs. Carter sniffed, her lips curling into disdain. "Mrs. Carter, yes. Of course I knew. Sophie was never good enough for him. She clung to him, dragging him down. He deserved better. He deserved you, Clarissa." The words struck like knives. My breath hitched. "Me, you knew. And you said nothing? You watched me play wife, watched me love him, while you plotted my replacement." Her eyes flicked over me like I was dirt. "Mrs. Carter, marriage is not about paper. It's about progress. You were holding him back." Gasps rippled again, this time tinged with outrage. Even some guests booed. Clarissa's face hardened. "Clarissa, so this was planned? You and your son, weaving lies to trap me in his mess." Mrs. Carter lifted her chin. "Mrs. Carter, you should be honored. He chose you." Clarissa's laugh was bitter, cutting. "Clarissa, honored? No. I've never been so humiliated." Michael reached for her, panic sparking. "Michael, Clary, don't listen to her. Please." But Clarissa stepped back, her gown rustling like a warning. The storm of voices swelled, recording phones pointed like weapons. Michael tugged at his collar, sweat dripping down his temples. He made a sudden dash toward the side exit, dragging his mother by the wrist. "Michael, we're leaving." "No." But Clarissa shouted, her voice carrying over the noise. "Clarissa, coward! You won't run from this." I moved, planting myself in front of the door before he reached it. My legs shook, but fury held me upright. "Me? No. You don't get to vanish into the shadows, not after what you've done. You don't get to hide." He froze, glaring at me with barely veiled hatred. "Michael, Sophie, step aside." "Me? Or what? You'll lie again. You'll promise her the same vows you promised me." The room quieted, waiting. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Photos. Screenshots. Receipts. The nights he claimed to be away on business, only to be in Clarissa City. Hotel bills. Credit card slips. I turned the screen outward for all to see. Me, I saved everything. Every betrayal. Every stolen moment. This isn't just my word against yours, Michael. The evidence is here. His face drained of color. Mrs. Carter hissed. Mrs. Carter, you vile little. Clarissa, no, Mother Carter. Vile is raising a liar and protecting him. The crowd erupted in applause, their loyalty shifting toward us. Clarissa's sobs had dried into something harder, steel wrapped in silk. She stepped forward, lifted her veil, and stared directly into Michael's hollow eyes. Clarissa, you broke me. But you will never own me. And you will never hurt Sophie again. Then she did something no one expected. She pulled out her phone, hit live stream, and raised it high. Clarissa, to camera, this is the man I almost married. A liar. A bigamist. He tried to trap two women in one web of deceit. Let the world see him for what he really is. The room erupted. Guests cheered, some even waved to the camera. Michael lunged, trying to snatch the phone, but I grabbed his arm. Me. No, Michael. It's over. Everyone will know now. The livestream comments rolled in fast. Hearts, shocked emojis, furious words scrolling like fire. Exposed. Girl power. Sue him. Michael's face twisted in horror as his carefully curated world collapsed in real time. Within hours, the video spread like wildfire. Clips appeared on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram Reels. Headlines sprouted. Bride and wife exposed two-timing groom live at the altar. By the next morning, Michael's name trended worldwide. His company's stock dipped. Clients backed out. Strangers filled comment sections with venom. Meanwhile, Clarissa and I sat together in her apartment, a fortress of takeout boxes and tissues. We hadn't spoken much since the disaster, but the silence was no longer hostile. It was heavy with shared pain. Finally, Clarissa broke it. Clarissa, I should hate you. A part of me still does. But the truth is, we're both victims of the same lie. I nodded, tears pricking. Me, I never wanted this, Clary. But maybe it's better we both found out now. Her lips trembled, but she gave a faint, broken smile. Clarissa, he thinks he ruined us. But he only made us stronger. At that moment, my phone buzzed with an email, a summons. Court. Bigamy. Fraud. Evidence required. The courtroom was packed. Journalists lined the benches, cameras flashing outside the doors. The scandal had grown too big to ignore. Michael sat at the defendant's table, his once proud posture wilted. His mother beside him whispered furiously, but her words carried no power here. Clarissa and I sat together across the aisle, united by betrayal. The judge, stern and commanding, shuffled papers. Judge, Mr. Carter, you are charged with bigamy and fraud. Do you have anything to say? Michael rose, his voice strained. Michael, Your Honor, I never intended harm. I was confused. I loved them both. Judge, love is not an excuse for breaking the law. I stood, clutching the folder of evidence. Me, Your Honor, I present the marriage certificate, the hotel receipts, and the text messages confirming his double life. The judge scanned them, lips tight. Michael's attorney tried to object, but the weight of proof was undeniable. Clarissa rose next, her voice steady. Clarissa, he deceived us both. He stood at the altar, ready to commit a crime in front of God and the law. If not for Sophie's courage, he would have succeeded. The judge slammed his gavel. Judge, enough. I've seen all I need. This court will not tolerate such deceit. Michael's face crumpled as the verdict loomed. And for the first time since the nightmare began, I felt the stirrings of justice. The courtroom was suffocatingly quiet as the judge prepared his ruling. Michael wrung his hands, sweat dripping down his temples. The gavel came down with a thunderous crack. Judge, Michael Carter, you are guilty of fraud and attempted bigamy. You will serve 3 years in prison, effective immediately. Gasps and murmurs rippled across the benches. Michael's mother clutched her pearls, crying out, "Mrs. Carter, no! He doesn't deserve this. He's my son." But the guards had already gripped his arms, pulling him toward the exit. Michael twisted, his eyes frantic as they met mine. "Michael, Sophie, please, help me. We can fix this." I stood, my heart hard as stone. "Me? No, Michael. The only thing broken here was your soul. And you never cared enough to fix it." Clarissa stood too, her gaze cold. "Clarissa, goodbye, Michael." As he was dragged away, the room erupted in whispers. Some applauded. Others shook their heads. But for the first time, I felt air in my lungs again. Weeks passed. The storm of headlines finally began to fade, though the scandal lingered like smoke after a fire. Clarissa invited me over one evening. Her apartment was quieter now, stripped of wedding decorations. No flowers, no lace, no reminders. Just the raw air of starting over. She poured 2 glasses of wine and sat beside me. "Clarissa, do you ever feel hollow? Like even though we won, a part of us was stolen?" I nodded, staring into the dark red swirl in my glass. "Me, he took our trust, our time, our love. But he didn't take us, Clary. We're still here." She smiled faintly, reaching across to squeeze my hand. "Clarissa, do you think we'll ever laugh like we used to?" "Me, one day. Maybe sooner than we think." We toasted, the clink of glasses sounding like a promise. Life moved on. I returned to work, threw myself into projects I had abandoned during my years of blind devotion. I started jogging again, eating better, even redecorated my apartment. Piece by piece, I rebuilt myself. Clarissa, too, began to flourish. She launched a podcast called Unmasked, where she and other women shared their stories of betrayal and resilience. It went viral within weeks, her voice carrying strength and hope. One afternoon, as I returned from a run, my phone buzzed with a notification. A message. From an unknown number. Message: "I'm out. We need to talk." My chest tightened. I didn't need a name to know who it was. Michael. He appeared at my doorstep 2 nights later, thinner, his once proud posture broken. Prison had etched lines into his face. He looked at me with hollow eyes. "Michael, Sophie, I've lost everything. Please, I just need a chance to explain. To make things right." I stood in the doorway, arms folded. "Me, make things right? You had years. You had 2 women who loved you. And you chose lies. Michael, I was weak. I thought I could keep you both happy. I don't know what I thought. Me, you thought only of yourself." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Michael, I don't want money. I don't want forgiveness. I don't want to be alone." I studied him for a long moment. Once, I would have melted at those words. Once, I would have given everything to soothe his loneliness. But not anymore. "Me, you're not alone, Michael. You have the one thing you always cherished most. Yourself. Learn to live with him." And I closed the door. Weeks later, I sat with Clarissa at a small cafe downtown. The city buzzed outside, life moving on as though nothing had happened. We sipped coffee, laughing about something small, something ordinary. And in that laughter, I felt whole again. Clarissa leaned back, her eyes shining. "Clarissa, do you realize what we did? He tried to break us, but we came out stronger." I nodded, smiling. "Me, sometimes betrayal is the gift that sets you free." We clinked cups, the sound ringing like victory. As I walked home under the fading sun, I felt lighter. My heart no longer carried the weight of lies. Michael was gone. But I was reborn. The end.